the County Wexford farm which scores of people see as a haven of hope. Hardly a day passes but somebody who has or who has jumped to the conclusion that he's suffering from skin cancer turns up here to be cured. Not by an eminent doctor who has taken to living in the quiet of the countryside, but by this man, William Deakin, a tillage farmer, who on his own admission hasn't the foggiest notion about medical matters. But he has, he believes, the secret of curing skin cancer. Mind you, the medical profession can cure it too by using either radiation or surgery. But William Deakin claims he is curing it with a simple ointment which he makes himself. Following a formula handed down for generations through his family, he gathers herbs each spring on his farm near New Ross, dries them and makes an ointment of them. And this he applies to the supposedly diseased skin of the hundreds who come to him. Now there is no doubt but that he does remove some sort of a growth, whatever it might be. This kind of rather evil growth, like a tiny octopus, has emerged from the affected parts of all his patients. But when we asked him to loan us one of these growths to have it tested in a laboratory and find out definitely if it was cancer or not, he repeatedly turned us down. Not, he claimed, because he was afraid it would prove not to be cancer, but because traces of the ointment might be found and analysed, and the secret, which he insists must remain within his family, would be made public. His claims are borne out by Mr. Daniel Nolan, farmer of Clahas, Enniscorthy.
Any of these lumps now is cancer, that's the dread anyway. So one day, when he only been a few miles away from me, I decided that I'd show it to him first anyway for it, let the doctors interfere with it. Take me chance from that point of view.
James Donoghue, a retired businessman of Enniscorthy town.
Grandmother going to be good to her. She had it in her side, and she went under several operations. She didn't finish.
Mrs. Ned Denton, farm worker's wife, Davidstown, County Wexford.
But he cures cancer anyhow, and this thing came out and it was all little old legs too. You know?
Peter Murphy, clerk and union official, Enniscorthy.
Doctor, or back to Mr. Deakin?
I go back to Bill Deakin because he's wonderful. I think his value is not appreciated in the locality at all, because he's at the cure in half the world.
What was your particular complaint?
In the side of the jaw here, left jaw, in one area.
What was in there?
Lump, approximately about the size of a cherry, I'd say. It was gradually getting bigger. It had been there a few years. And it was gradually getting bigger, and the problem is it was painful, or it was tormenting them. They were always inclined to be at it like with your tongue and that.
I got this lump in my lip, and it used to pain me back and forward.
What exactly happened, Joe?
Well, I noticed this pimple on my right leg, on the inside of my right leg, and didn't think anything of it for a while. So it started to give me a little bit pain. So eventually it grew bigger and bigger, and was much like got dark in complexion, dark looking, and every time I'd stoop, it used to bleed a little.
I decided to go with this little lump in my leg.
You thought it was cancer, did you?
Well, I didn't know what it was. I said that I had chance going to Mr. Deakin with it, and if it was it, he'd probably tell me.
And I showed it to one particular person. He says, I'll bring you to a man, he says, that'll fix up that, he says, very quick. He'll tell you very quickly what it is. So that man called up to my house that night, and he took me out to Bill Deakin.
Mr. Deakin had a look at it, and he says, yes, that's the lad all right.
Cancer?
He didn't say that cancer now, he said, that's the lad all right. Now, there's the very words he used.
So I decided I'd go to him, so I went up and showed it to Bill this night above. Neighbour come up with me in the car, showed it to him, and look, oh yes, he says, you've got the lad, he says, all right, and a very severe lad. And awkward, he said, where he is. So I called over a neighbour that had rambled in there to have a look at this. So he come over and had a look at it, and he said, it was tough looking. He said, you're going to suffer, he said, a bit with this.
If you like now, he says, I'll put on a plaster. And I said, with the consent of your family or something, he said, you know, and I said, no, I said, you're putting it on, you put it on now, with my consent.
That's him, all right, he says. But he says, it's in such a peculiar place that I can't treat you when you're on your feet. You'll have to be in bed.
This was on your leg, was it?
It was on my leg, yes. But the particular spot that it was on, he couldn't sleep. I'd have to be in bed before he'd. So I went home that particular night, and he came in to me the next evening.
And he'll want to come to me at least, he says, for 3 weeks, he says, or a month. Every day. And he says, your position will be a bit awkward. He says, you'll have to sit back in a chair, keep your mouth open there, he says, for 3 hours and keep it from getting damp. He said, if you get damp, he said, the plaster will lift and come up. It'll be no use. He says, I can give you a cork to put between your teeth there so as to help your mouth from cramping and that. End of it. He says, that'll be the position if you like to take the chance with me, but...
He had his little bag of instruments with him or whatever he had, but he got knelt down on the bed anyhow when he put this particular plaster on, right on top of the spot.
How did you feel afterwards?
I felt awful. I mean, for the first 2 or 3 days that whatever he put on, it wasn't too bad, but then this awful pain started coming, and the pain was frightful. So he came in about twice, I think, 2 or 3 times, and he renewed the, what will I say then, renewed the plaster.
Yeah, the plaster.
Renewed the plaster. And he told my missus to keep an eye on it, make sure and keep the plaster on the particular spot.
So I put on the plaster. So I came home and I left the plaster on for 10 days, and I went back to Mr. Deakin again. I took off the plaster and he told me to go home and poultice it with bread and water. So I poulticed away on it and poulticed for it was over 2 months before it came out. So it finally did come out in the poultice, bread and water.
I think it was about 11 days he came in and he told the missus that night she used to start poulticing now over the plaster that he had already put on it. So she started poulticing it, and she had to put in poultice for about 4 days or 4, I can't remember now the number of poultice went on, but eventually the whole thing came out in the poultice as sort of a big black spider with roots and all attached to it, this particular piece of stuff.
In that position for 3 long hours. So 27 visits I went home, we put on 27 plasters. And the 23rd or 24th plaster he put on, they did a little bit of an old thing started hanging down out of it.
And I used to feel it pulling back and forth. And after the 10 days I was a poultice with white bread. And the 2nd day the plaster come off and the little lump came with it. Well, I took it in time, you see, they hadn't started the root, but it came out, and I was appointed then for 10 days, so I only put it for 9 days. Then I went out home, and he said it was perfect.
So I went back to him the next day, and I asked, he says, what was this like when it came out? I said, I don't know. I said, I didn't see it. It disappeared, I said, overnight in my sleep.
4 people who believe that they've been cured of skin cancer without so much as the loss of a day's work. The local tradition is that Mr. Deakin cured cancer, and nobody questions it. And yet, when it comes to the point, nobody is sure. Who knows? Might the Deakins have developed a wonder cure?
It was handed down from my mother, well, from generations before me. We had it. Mother cured for years and years.
And are these herbs, are they special herbs?
I don't know. They grow on the land. You pick them around the land in summer and springtime. They're fresh and good.
And what do you do with them?
Well, you hang them up first and then let them dry them out to powder for them, riddle them through cloth, making it into a paste.
Do you know how it works? Chemically, why it works?
I wouldn't know, but sure I suppose the effect of the herb draw the affected place from the human being or something, as far as I know. And you make up this paste and put it on them, leave them on for, would say, 216 hours to be exact.
Are any of them sent to you by doctors?
Oh no, definitely not. They wouldn't be. As far as I'd know, anyway.
Why, the doctors not approve of you?
Oh no, they wouldn't. I didn't know. It wouldn't be.
Yeah. How do you know, in fact, if this is cancer at all that you're curing?
Instinct, I think. It just come natural to me. As far as I think. Because I would see people in crowds now, and often saw people who wouldn't know that happened. I just think in my own mind they would, and later on they'd come on to say.
Yeah. Do you not think that this might, in some ways, be dangerous, since you're sort of an untrained man?
I don't think so. You wouldn't start if you thought they were dangerous, like. You wouldn't. You'd have to be very sure.
You've had no failures, have you?
Never.
Do you get paid for this, Mr. Deakin?
Well, anyone like they can give me something, but I have no charge on it. So they just give me a trifle if they like, and most of them pray for me. If they had nothing to give me, I wouldn't let them die if I could keep them alive. If they never had anything.
Are you quite convinced that you've saved lives?
Well, I am positive of that. I think, as far as my belief go on, they have saved many lives.